2024 NASCAR season is almost upon us, and with a new revamp to the schedule, we are sure to see multiple winners this year, and maybe even some first-time winners. Let's take a look at who could possibly win in 2024. For this video, I will break up drivers by groups, ranking them on how likely they are to win and how often. Let's dive into group number 1. I classify group number 1 as absolutely no way, and that's not a knock at a few of these drivers' talent levels, as they are somewhat talented, but the resources their teams are providing, I don't see them even winning wildcard races at super speedways like Atlanta, Talladega, or even Daytona. So let's take a look at this list more in depth. Classified in this list, we have the 3 drivers for Rick Ware Racing: Justin Haley, Cody Ware, and Kaz Grala. Keeping it simple, Rick Ware Racing, even with the RFK Alliance, will not have race-winning speed. Maybe Justin Haley gets a top 20 or top 15 at a super speedway. Moving on to Todd Gilliland. Todd Gilliland shines at 2 types of racetracks: road courses and super speedways. Unfortunately, a lot of other teams also have more money. Even if their drivers can't shine at those tracks skill-wise, their cars are still more competitive than Front Row Motorsports. I do not see Todd Gilliland winning this year. Harrison Burton, being a 4th Penske driver essentially with the Alliance, he should have had more consistent results by now. I don't know if it's a lack of talent or if it's just bad luck, but I don't see Harrison Burton making a complete 180 and winning races this year, so he'll probably go winless in 2024. And then finally, Carson Hocevar, very talented driver, but I feel like it's going to be his full-time rookie year, and with Spire Motorsports, they lack speed and they lack competitiveness. Even though Corey LaJoie has shown some flashes, it still took him a while to get to that point. And Carson Hocevar, again, the rookie year, I just feel like there's a lot of other drivers that are more competitive at the tracks that he is good at, like those style of racetracks. So I don't see him winning in 2024 either. My next group is classified as probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised. And that's Daniel Hemrick, Jimmy Johnson, Josh Berry, Ryan Preece, Chase Briscoe, Noah Gragson, Corey LaJoie, Shane Van Gisbergen, John Hunter Nemechek, and Austin Dillon. Now this group is larger than the last one, and I'm just going to give my short reasoning because I want to keep the video short and sweet. So we look at Stewart-Haas Racing. Let's look at Josh Berry and Noah Gragson. Both of them have had multiple wins for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series. The talent is there. It's just, will the cars be competitive enough in 2024 with Stewart-Haas Racing? We saw at the end of last year, the team kind of fell apart minus Kevin Harvick. So is Tony Stewart still going to be able to put speed into these cars? We'll see. They probably won't win, but if they did, wouldn't be surprised. And then again, Ryan Preece, Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe has a win in the next-gen car, so wouldn't be surprised if he rolled into victory lane. And Ryan Preece is a great short-track racer. And again, there are a lot of short tracks on the schedule. At Martinsville last year, he showed flashes. And at Richmond, he showed speed with a top 10 finish. So I think that he can also maybe win in 2024. But I'm leaning towards probably not. So the main theme of this list is probably not, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. So we have Jimmy Johnson on here. Again, he's more than likely washed up at this point in his career, but it is cool to see him behind the wheel still. The only tracks that he could probably win at are Daytona and maybe Dover. But other than that, I don't see that 84 car going to victory lane. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised. He's a 7-time champion for a reason. Daniel Hemrick, colleague, does great on super speedways. Wouldn't be surprised to see him in victory lane at Talladega. Corey LaJoie, same thing, has shown some signs of positive towards super speedway racing, but can never get the deal done, so probably won't still, but again, hey, I wouldn't be surprised. Shane Van Gisbergen probably won't win Chicago this year, just as I feel like the conditions won't be the same as last year. I felt like he had more of an advantage with the rain in the race, so if it's more of sunny conditions, maybe it plays a better role towards some of the other guys who are road racers like Tyler Reddick, Austin Cindric, even Ross Chastain, Michael McDowell. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he went back-to-back at the Chicago Street Circuit, but I don't think so. John Hunter, they're switching to Toyota. I still think the 42 car is going to lack speed, kind of like it did last year. But John Hunter Nemechek had a great run last year in the Xfinity Series, and I feel like with Toyota's help, they could possibly get that team to victory lane, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled one. And then Austin Dillon. I feel like Austin Dillon really just kind of lucks into wins lately. He hasn't really had a dominant race that he's put together. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled that one off at a super speedway or another track where maybe strategy puts him out front, but realistically, Austin Dillon is not going to win in 2024. I classify my next group as under perfect circumstances, and this group of drivers consists of Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, AJ Allmendinger, Ricky Stenhouse, Daniel Suarez, and Ty Gibbs. Out of the 6 drivers on this list, there's only one that hasn't won yet with the next-gen car, and that is Ty Gibbs. Now, Ty Gibbs is still very young, and I still think he's maturing. I don't think he has the opportunity to lead a race for 100-plus laps in dominating fashion and win like his teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing. But I still think under the perfect circumstances, maybe a late race restart, maybe a caution, or some strategy call, he can find himself up front and able to drive and take the lead and then win the race. But to say that he's going to dominate a race from start to finish is unlikely in 2024. Great talent, but I still think a little immature, but will show some flashes in this season. Now moving on, we have McDowell, Cindric, Allmendinger, Stenhouse, and Suarez. All these drivers have won in the next-gen car, but all of them have been under some circumstance, and I expect the same this year. McDowell last year led Indy, but it was just because there weren't really any cautions, couldn't mix the field up. And the next-gen car, it's hard to pass in at road courses, so he was able to just kind of keep that lead and stay ahead. Cindric in the Daytona 500 2 years ago, team orders were to not pass each other, so Ryan Blaney, although he had an opportunity to pass him, Roger Penske didn't allow that, so Austin Cindric was able to just drive to a nice, easy Daytona 500 win. AJ Allmendinger, always an opportunity to win at these road courses, but only at road courses, so that is a circumstance. It's a niche driver with a niche track. And then Ricky Stenhouse, another super speedway guy that's very good at these tracks, happened last year in the 500, was leading, caution came out, shrunk the field down, and then another caution on the last lap allowed him to win that race, and he has a win in the next-gen car. Expect the same this year. Probably not going to win, but under perfect circumstances, he can win. And then Daniel Suarez, a very good driver at road courses and super speedways, shows flashes at 1.5 miles, but I don't think that Suarez has the ability to win a race unless it's like his first win at Sonoma where it ran green most of the end and there wasn't an opportunity for somebody else to pass him when they got bunched up on a restart. Alright, now this portion of the video we finally get into people who are 100% going to win a race. And for this group we have Bubba Wallace, Eric Jones, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, and Alex Bowman. And I'm excited to break down this list and my reasoning for why they'll win at least one race in 2024. So let's break down the Toyota drivers on this list first, Eric Jones and Bubba Wallace. Both of them have the opportunity to win at super speedways as they already have won at those types of tracks, Bubba Wallace at Talladega and Eric Jones at Daytona. Now moving on, both of them have won at intermediate tracks in the next-gen car, Bubba Wallace at Kansas, Eric Jones at Darlington. Although that wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago, I still expect them to have race-winning speed. I feel like Bubba Wallace had potential to win a couple of races last year, and he made the playoffs last year. I think this year he makes it again with a win at a short track or 1.5 miles or even a super speedway. Same deal with Eric Jones. Eric Jones, I feel like the switch to Toyota is going to help that team out a lot. I feel like they're going to have a lot more speed, and I feel John Hunter has the potential to win a race, so definitely Eric Jones will 100% win a race. Will it be a super speedway? I can see it even being at an intermediate track like Darlington again, or even Kansas or Las Vegas or a track like that. Next, let's move on to the RFK duo of Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski. Chris Buescher in the next-gen car has won on almost every type of a racetrack, and some races were in dominant fashion. I expect Chris Buescher to 100% win a race this year and continue the chance towards a championship appearance. Now, Brad Keselowski. It's been a couple years since he's won a race since switching to RFK Racing, but I think Brad Keselowski has shown great potential and speed in the years past in the next-gen car. Although he hasn't been able to finish races, Brad Keselowski is still a champion and is still a winner. And I feel like this year, finally, he gets a win for that 6 car. And finally, Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman last year led the points up until his injury that sidelined him for a couple weeks. I expect Alex Bowman to win a race. It's a Hendrick car. He wins every year, at least once a year. I think Alex Bowman gets back on track and wins a race. For my next group, I classify them as will win 1 to 3 races, and that's Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Ryan Blaney. And let's keep it simple. Chase Elliott last year didn't win, but that's because of suspension and injury. I expect him to get back on track this year, winning at a road course and an intermediate or even a short track. Kyle Busch had a rebound season last year with RCR after struggling in his past few years with Joe Gibbs Racing. I expect Kyle Busch to win at some intermediates and maybe even finally get that Daytona 500 win that's been eluding him for all these years. Martin Truex Jr. last year had a rebound season after not winning in 2022, and I expect Martin Truex Jr. to once again win a couple races. This could very well be his last year, and I think it would be kind of poetic if he won a few races in his farewell tour. And especially if the races are on Monday, I would say it's a safe bet to say Martin Truex Jr. is going to win a race. Moving on to Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick last year had 2 wins at COTA in Kansas. The COTA win was more dominant fashion. The Kansas was more luck. But I feel like Tyler Reddick has shown speed at mile-and-a-half tracks like Homestead, Vegas, Texas, and then the road courses is where he also shines. COTA, Watkins Glen, Indy. So I feel like Tyler Reddick could definitely win 1 to 3 races. Christopher Bell last year won a few races. One at Bristol Dirt, one at Homestead, Miami, 2 very different racetracks, was a championship 4 contender, fell short, but Christopher Bell in a Toyota, in a Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota, definitely will win 1 to 3 races next year. And finally, our defending champion, Ryan Blaney. He got hot at the end of last year. He's won at different types of racetracks. Seems to struggle on road courses more, but overall, I think Ryan Blaney can definitely win at intermediates, super speedways, and short tracks. I could see him winning 1 to 3 races, but wouldn't be surprised if he got to even 4 or 5 wins. But of course, we all know sometimes the defending champ has a slouch the next year, but I still expect him to win at least 1 race. And for my last group, I classify it as will win 3+ races this year, and that is William Byron, Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, and Joey Logano. I'll first focus on the Hendrick duo on this list, and that's William Byron and Kyle Larson. Both had multiple wins last year and were championship 4 contenders, ultimately falling short to Ryan Blaney, but still had great years and could have had the opportunity to win the championship. They're always going to have great speed, as Hendrick is the top team in NASCAR, and they can win at almost every single style of racetrack that there is. I expect both William Byron and Kyle Larson to not skip a beat and get back to victory lane in 2024 at least 3 times and probably up to 5. Next up, let's talk about Ross Chastain. Last year, he had 2 dominating wins at 2 different style racetracks, and this year, I expect him to be a super contender for the championship and at least win 3 races. He shines well at almost every single style of racetrack. He has a win at a road course, a super speedway, a short track, and an intermediate in the next-gen car, and Ross Chastain, I think this year, finally takes the step towards becoming a champion in NASCAR. It's an even number year, so Joey Logano fans rejoice. Joey Logano seems to always make it to the championship 4 on even number years, and I expect the same thing this year. Even though I'm not superstitious, I still think Joey Logano will not miss a beat and continue to win. I feel like he's in the prime of his career. Penske is a great team, and I feel like now with the new Ford body, it will allow the opportunity for the Fords to be more competitive on short tracks and intermediate tracks. It might take away from the super speedway racing, but I still think Joey Logano is the top driver at Ford, and this year will be another multi-win season. And the final driver that I expect to win 3 or more races this year is Denny Hamlin. Whether you love him or hate him, Denny Hamlin is still always very competitive year in and year out for multiple race wins and the opportunity to win a championship. Although he can't get the last part done, he still wins multiple races every year. I expect the same thing this year. He basically owns Pocono Raceway and is always very competitive at super speedways and more intermediate tracks and even short tracks. So I expect Denny Hamlin to get back on track again this year and win at least 3 races, and I can see him winning up to 5 races this year. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, who you think's going to win races, who isn't going to win, how many they're going to win. I'd like to hear your guys' opinion, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.